Hello, 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 folks. Welcome to this episode of the FEAST Foreplay interview series leading up to FEAST 2025. I'm feeling really excited to be sitting here with Kai. And Kai is someone that's been very active in the community over the last few years. Kai, you've attended FEAST a couple of times as a participant. And yeah, I've always witnessed you as a really engaged, like curious, explorative individual and have very much appreciated just the energy and the presence that you've brought and the transmission of that curiosity, that willingness to explore and connect with new people. So I'm really excited to chat with you about your work and how that's developed over the last couple of years and your contribution you're going to be making to Feast. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So yeah, let's dive in. The first question I'd love to hear a response from you about is really around like what was your first experience in a group erotic learning space, and then what did that lead to in your life in the months and years that followed? Because that's essentially what Feast is, a group learning space for our erotic development.
I think it must have been when I was a teenager, actually, that my neighbor had some very interesting parties, and it really opened my mind to just experiencing all the things.
Mm. And
Um,
what do you feel like that contributed to in your life? Like how did that impact your life over the time afterwards?
um, it really kind of made me, what do you call it, outcome independent, where it's more about the experiencing and
Mm.
learning, and like rather than putting your personal preference and attractions first.
Mm.
And just experiencing it first and then seeing, what was that like? And then, yeah, going from there.
Yeah, wow. I feel like you're saying it very simply, but I can imagine for some folks out there, actually, this is a very like revolutionary concept to be that open-minded that it's like, yep, I can step into a totally new experience with people I might not even be attracted to and
Mm.
see how it feels in my body, see what it actually, converts like and what the process is like, not just the outcome of the process, and then make my decision about what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, and how I felt about those things and what I'm taking from it.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the times before experiencing or trying something, you've had your worries or your fears,
Yes.
and that stops you from even trying a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the times, an experience might not be what uh, yeah, you never know what it's going to be like if you
Yeah,
don't
it might
try.
not be what you think it was going to be, and
And
you
it's
could
never
get
going
pleasantly surprised if you
to,
come at it with the right approach.
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And it sounds like that's fostered a real openness in your approach to life and the work that you do as well, in being willing to, yeah, work with people in different ways and also just have really different experiences and quite an alternative experience of life, which is super beautiful.
Yeah, it really opened me up early to be
Mm,
like, wow, there's so much out there that I didn't even think about.
mm, mm, mm. Awesome. Beautiful. I love that. That's so rich and, such a early positive imprint, which is such a beautiful alternative to a lot of the messaging and information and experiences that people are having out there, unfortunately, around their sexuality. So I find that really inspiring to hear. Yeah, that quirky kind of different experiences early on were positive for you.
Yeah, it really gives you an alternative approach to rather than just being stuck in the way you grew up, the way you've been taught.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking about sexuality, about erotic development, there's so many different kinds of personal development out there right now. There's so many different ways that you can go and work on yourself and inquire of yourself and what it means to be a human, what it means to be in community. Like it's just endless at the moment, especially with the kind of explosion of the coaching industry. But I feel like there's something quite unique in some of the spaces that we're creating and the work that we're delivering to our clients and community. What do you think makes erotic development work so important and valuable for people that choose to step into it?
I think it's kind of like learning how you work, how your
Mm,
body. It's like when you go to therapy, you learn how your brain works. Like, oh, this is how how I function, and things you never get to learn in school or things your parents didn't know. So how could they teach you? So it's a very good opportunity to learn how your own body works and how your own mind and attraction and everything inside you,
mm,
like
mm,
pleasure.
mm. Yeah, sure. A bit of a follow-on question I get a sense of because I'm feeling like, for you, sexuality, your erotic nature is quite entwined with like all of life in some ways, or how you relate to life. I'm curious if you can speak to that a bit more of like how you view that or how you hold that in yourself. And because I think for some people, it's like, if I'm working on my sexuality or working on my eros or my erotic nature, how does that relate to the way I show up in work? Or how does that relate to how I feel in my day-to-day life? You know, it's not obvious to some people.
Well, confidence, definitely. If you're secure and feel confident and safe in yourself,
Mm, mm,
show up very differently, and you'll be able to handle other people. If you know, if people coming at you with all kinds of stuff, you'll be like,
mm,
I'm fine.
mm.
Not threatened by this. Or
Yes.
yeah, it's very, and confidence is like the sexiest, almost like someone who shows up, doesn't matter who they are, like where they come, they got the spine to carry themselves.
Yeah.
It's very cool, and it
Yeah.
shows up in
Beautiful.
all aspects of life. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something that I'm kind of getting a sense of that I hold for myself is like it's showing me just how many people I think, and as human beings, like I think it's something a lot of us experience. I certainly have the ways in which we sometimes accidentally kind of reference each other or hand our power away or do do something that we think is expected of us because that's what most people do in that situation, or we think that that's what the people that we're in relationship want us to do, whether it's a manager, a boss, a partner, a friend, a family member. And so often we can be kind of referencing more our sense of what we think they want from us or the world wants from us. And I think a big part of my journey with sexuality and with understanding my erotic nature on a deeper level is I kind of view that as like our unique imprint. It's like the energy or the presence of what is unique about us. And so I think, you know, what I'm hearing from you as well, if we anchor ourselves to that, if we get to know that in our bodies, in our psyches, in our behavior, then when we're in those situations, we have something to reference to, we have something to connect to that can guide us on a deeper level than just the chattering or the different changing winds of cultural norms or people's expectations. It's like, no, I can feel on a deeper level what my truth is, and the shifts in communication and action might be subtle but very potent and create a very different feeling and outcome in the long run.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what, yeah, what you assume and what you assume to do. So you can change that because there's nothing is set in stone. We're like who we are, and we can
Totally.
create and change the world the way. There's no there's there's kind of good and bad, but there's no right and wrong a lot of times. A lot of
Yeah,
cultural and social norms are being put on us, and just because something is different doesn't mean it's bad. And we can
totally.
like show diversity and see how different can be good. And
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even that is like a radical message at times these days. We become so fixated on who we think we are and our identities and the way we think we need to be. And it's like, yeah, this work feels confronting for people sometimes, not only because sexuality is a thing that's been significantly shamed and feared in our culture, but also because it invites us into flexibility. It invites us into fluidity of like defining what we like, what kind of sexual experiences and connections we enjoy, what kind of pleasure our bodies are able to receive. And this doesn't mean you have to be a non-monogamous, queer loving, explorative, way open-minded, but it's like literally in your partnership or in your monogamous relationship, you might discover that you like to connect with your partner in ways that you never knew before. And that feels confronting because you thought for the last 15 years, you knew exactly who you are, but it's like, can we connect to the excitement of, yeah, being able to change and yeah, expand into new parts of ourselves.
yeah, I work a lot with people who are about 50 to 70-year old too, and they've
Yeah, well,
what life full of without pleasure, without
mm, mm,
having anything their way, like a lot of abuse and
mm,
being pushed down. And it's finally they get to finally grow and be themselves and be free and
yeah,
experience and explore. And it's so wonderful to see how they bloom and blossom and just
yeah.
glow.
I've got tingles. I can feel it. It's beautiful. It's so cool.
It's
Yeah, that
amazing.
dovetails perfectly into my next question for you, which is like, what are you most passionate about in your life and in your work, and how does that flow into the way that you work with people? And are there particular challenges or learning focuses that sit at the core of the work you do with people, or particular themes that you most love working with people on?
Well, I like being open-minded and creative because keeping an open mind, like like you said, like removing the goal and just experiencing things that just opens up doors in every way, even just
Mm,
trying food for the first time or new
mm,
clothes, you know. So, like I said, like a lot of people like I work with is maybe half of them are that time in life and they're all above 40, 50. But the other half is more people with disabilities or
mm,
people who are transitioning. And it's just wonderful to be able to be there and help them and support them. And
mm,
it's just a scary time. And if you've never been with a person before, or you haven't even been able to touch yourself.
mm.
And it's just mind blowing to help someone to find pleasure, because it's something we all deserve. It's like a human right to be able to have pleasure in yourself, to be with yourself and
Yeah.
not be ashamed of it. So a lot of my work is around that. And yeah, it's just amazing to be sharing and opening minds.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like one of the things I'm hearing kind of loudest in your sharing as like a theme is actually being a guide of the explorer, like being a stand, being a transmission for the possibility of exploring and expanding who we are and going on that journey. And I'm hearing it's like, I don't have a specific way that I have to do that with someone, or that I don't have an agenda of what I think they need. But what I'm here taking a stand for is their opportunity to explore themselves more deeply, to uncover things they never knew about themselves. And maybe one of the other loudest things I heard was like, your sense of people's right to pleasure and your allyship that you're taking a stand for, as a pleasure revolutionary, almost, of like, you deserve pleasure and I'm here to help you find it, like this is important. And it doesn't matter if you're 60, 70 years old, you can have this still, and it's going to imbue
Mm.
your life with beauty that you've maybe never experienced before. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
there's
love
so
that.
many who they just believe that they don't deserve it. They've never
Mm,
had it. They never don't think they can. So,
yeah.
and it's just so good to do this because I feel like everyone is like so shy
Yeah.
almost. Like,
Yeah.
come on, you can try, you can do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and sometimes what we need most is an encouraging, loving, patient, guiding presence, which it sounds like you offer. This dovetails really beautifully into, I'd love, for you to tell us a little bit about the work that you do in a bit more detail, the way you offer your work, and also your background, your training, your experience of how you worked over the last several years. And my final piece I'd love to weave in is, I know that you have a Swedish background and there's a particular word you use. And I feel like that word and you giving us the meaning of it really encapsulates a lot of what we've been talking about, actually. So I'd love for our listeners to be able to hear that from you as well.
Yeah, I grew up in Sweden, so I didn't even know that this was possible with the Swedish model, the Nordic
Mm,
model, So when I came here, it was really like, whoa, I can actually do this. This is amazing.
yeah.
It was it's been 15, 16 years now, but I've been part of every aspect of the sex industry, starting from just massages and going all the way through peep shows and yeah, competitions and all kinds of stuff. And then it I ended up training to be a professional dom, the
Mm,
dominatrix, which was amazing. And then after that, I took it to the sexological bodywork, which is another level further. And then it's just become this incredible mix of working with everything from like pain to pleasure and everything in between, and how you can
mm,
mix that, or overcoming pain, or working with it, or even just incorporating like smell and food and all
mm,
stuff rather than just a vibrator and a bit of lube.
mm.
There's so much more to it. And
Totally.
yeah, this is Swedish word I'm using is vägledare, which is in English it would be pathfinder.
Mm,
So it's more like I'll be there with you on your journey,
mm,
finding your path
mm,
through all of this.
mm. Beautiful. Yeah.
That's the short version.
Yeah. Awesome. And you work mostly with people one on one right now. Do you do other programs or any group spaces or workshops, or is your main focus one on one at the moment?
It has been one-on-one, but this year is when I'm going to try and step up and do more teaching and coaching, mentoring, and do more group, bigger things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah,
the next level up, like, with every year or two, I've been doing something new, and now this year it's
totally.
teaching.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like, that we're really excited to have you offering something, in the group space, in the workshop space for our program this year at Feast. Like, I can feel the depth of your knowledge and your experience and the way you've worked with people for so many years now. And also to witness, as I said earlier in this episode, yeah, just the way you've showed up in community. So I'm really excited for people to be able to receive, your workshop offering. Would you like to tell us just, for 15 or 30 seconds about that workshop?
Yeah, this one is a rope experience. So I don't like to say shibari because this is more about the rope and connection and creating a little scene there with you or
Mm,
your friend. Incorporating all the senses from sight to touch and hearing and taste and all of this with the rope rather than just tying someone up and leaving like that, which is
mm,
by itself an amazing experience.
mm.
This is a more different one. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like what I'm hearing is, yeah, that you're really making it like a sensory adventure for people. And
Yeah.
yeah, focusing on different aspects of the senses and activating them for people. It's some of the most simple, kind of foundational, but amazingly expansive invitation I think we can make. And it can feel really safe because it's like we can do it with all of our clothes on, we can do it by ourselves, or we can do it with a partner, or we can do it with someone we've never met before. There's all of
Mm.
these options, but it has a real depth and richness to it in the feelings and the new experiences we can touch. So I love that you're bringing that, and that the rope work is tied into that literally. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
once it seems quite simple when you think about all the pieces, it's quite a few things in there to learn and think about. So it's
absolutely.
quite amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. My next question for you, we're really looking forward to that workshop. And what I'd love to hear from you next is your sense of what you think the biggest obstacle is for people stepping into sexuality work. And how do you deal with that? How do you support people to overcome this and to meet their edge, of possibility or growth?
Well, I guess as a you mean as a teacher or
Yeah.
providing
Yeah.
one of the hardest to find is almost like how to not take it personal afterwards. Just like any therapist, you need to be able to protect yourself and shake it off, and
Mm,
that can be really hard for some people.
mm,
Or the other one would be to not judge, and your sexuality or your preferences is not part of the job. You can
mm,
still
mm,
provide a great service even if you're
mm,
not attracted to someone.
mm.
Working with that is you might be doing it for the wrong reason if you only work with your own attraction.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
So really putting that aside, like I said in the beginning, with um, putting just experiencing it for an experience rather
Mm,
than
mm,
what you want.
mm. And what about for for either clients you work with or your sense of the general public that are potentially stepping into these spaces as participants? What do you think their biggest obstacle is?
It's probably the fear again, the fear and the shame. There's so much you're afraid of trying something, you're afraid of failing, you're afraid
Mm,
of other people judging you for what
mm,
you're doing or what you're not doing,
mm,
and there's a lot of shame in that.
mm,
So it's so good to try and overcome that, and
mm,
um, yeah, trying to work around that and I'm trying to like the way I do it is just being, friendly, open, happy,
mm.
and running around being a fool, taking the taking the
It's not
power
that
out of the
scary,
job.
guys. Look, watch me.
It's okay. It's okay to fall over.
Yeah, nice. Just give me lots of examples of our humanness that people can go, oh, okay, Kai's doing it. It must be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
So
Yeah, and I
yeah.
feel like, yeah, really, I think a big thing we do in Feast is encouraging people to step in at a rate and at a level that they feel comfortable with. So it's like rather than saying no altogether, and
Mm,
boundaries is really important, rather than just having a blanket no that stops you from reaching this experience or touching something that you can feel some interest or pull towards, but you're afraid of. It's like say yes to this and then step a piece at a time where you feel a little bit uncomfortable that you're growing, but comfortable enough that you're able to manage yourself, that you're able to remain, present with yourself and not override your own important boundaries and stuff. And yeah, I think it sounds like everything you've said today in the way that you work sounds really resonant with that in helping people unfold.
Yeah, because you can always remove yourself. You can always
Yeah,
stop. You can always,
totally.
if you don't try, you'll never, you won't even know what's going on in the room. But
Yeah.
you can always stop and leave or make it less. You can just try
Mm,
a little bit,
mm,
and
mm.
that's really good.
Yeah,
Just a little, give it a shot.
totally. I had this moment when I first did my sexological bodywork training and we were in a group experience kind of in connection with our own bodies. And I had a moment where I just opened my eyes and looked out of the door of the workshop room that we were in. And I just had this flash of like my 16-year-old self seeing me then. And I just thought, I just never knew these spaces existed even. I didn't even know this was possible. And that just touched me when you said what you said before. It's like, there's so many things we don't know that we can't even conceive of. And this is what Feast offers. It offers an invitation into a world where things are happening that you maybe can't even imagine sometimes. And, you know, they're almost always far more beautiful and connective and useful than your worried mind could ever conceive. And so yeah, it's a real invitation into a gateway of possibility, I think, which we love to share.
Yeah, and even just workshops, they're only like a certain length. You can do it. It's
Yeah, totally. It's not a marathon. It's like 90
what?
minutes at a time.
Yeah, it's just a little try.
Yeah. Yeah. With the facilitator that feels best for you. Yeah, you get to choose. It's not a forced program or anything.
It's so
Yeah.
try it out. If you don't like it, well, you know.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. I think we often have negative connotations in Western culture of, oh, I didn't like that. That wasn't good. And it's like, good. You found out. Like you get to define your edges more. You didn't like that piece. What did you like? And it's, yeah, that when we can do that in an empowered way, I think it's a positive experience. It's like we carve out more of ourselves rather than just being in this murky, like resistance of a lot of things. So yeah, I
Yeah,
love that you highlighted that.
you end up in this unknown blur in the middle where you don't know.
Exactly. And it's like you don't want to try anything because it doesn't feel comfortable, but you don't get to enjoy the things that you could enjoy either.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
waste of time, even if you didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Solid investment in yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. I've got one more for you, and I'm kind of tying the last two together around, your attendance at Feast. I'd love you to finish the sentence for me. I'm going to Feast 2025 because.
Ooh. Um, I'm going to Feast 2025 because I want more. I want to connect and meet everyone again. I want to learn and grow and experience things. And it's such a unique space to find and do that. And it's
Mm,
so safe too. You feel it's really like you feel comfortable and safe trying things and saying no. And there's so much consent involved. It's no one's pushing you. It's, yeah, it's just great, safe space to explore. And I feel like I learn and grow something. Yeah, so much. It's like you said, it's like you don't know what you don't know. So I'm
mm,
excited to find out what I don't know.
mm. Yeah, wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kai. Well, as I said, we're really excited to receive, the gift of your service, of your offering this year, and to have you in the space, with your generous heart and explorative way, and to be a continual active part of this community and our profession. It's really beautiful. So thanks for chatting with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
You're
absolute pleasure.
most graceful and creative and welcoming. So
Thank you.
thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Awesome. And we'll see you in May.
I'll see you soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kai. We're going to put Kai's links, how you can find their work in the show notes below. So if you'd like to connect with Kai, then please jump on those links and check out their work.
Thank you.